Hello and welcome. This is Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. I wanted to create a video for the Chapter 8 homework tables assignment. Just kind of a little bit of a helper video just to kind of get you started with this. Just kind of give you a couple tips here on this. So here's is that first table where you're going to have table headings. You're going to have some really not background colors, but you're going to have some alternating colors. Text alignment, data in the cells, and having a data borders as well. Okay. The thing I really wanted to kind of focus on this first one is just to kind of talk about these alternating rows. Okay. As far as highlighting them. So here on W3 Schools, first I kind of want to mention that if you haven't seen the lecture on the tables, probably a good idea to look at that. I went over kind of quite a bit of things on the HTML tables. So please try to look at that lecture video, and or you can come out here to W3 Schools and kind of go through some of this. Okay, just some of the basics, explains what all the different tags mean and everything. Okay, that's another option there for you. So first I want to go over and I'm going to look at table styling. So these alternating rows, to highlight alternating rows like this, kind of also called zebra stripes. Okay, something that's very commonly used is what is one of these pseudo classes called nth child. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So in this case, it is doing an nth child even, so every even row. So your first row over here on the right-hand side, you've got first name, last name, points. This is basically a table heading using the TH tags, right? And then the rest of this is your data rows, right? And then every other data row, it's highlighted, right? So what it's basically doing, though, it's going into the way this works, it's basically based on your TR tags. And it's every even one. If you want to change that to odd one, this is kind of the easiest way to actually do this assignment, is just go ahead and change that to odd. And that's what you would be doing for this assignment, if that's how you want to do it. This is just an example. Also, you're going to use the data that's in the screenshot here. You're going to use the data and pretty much the color as well. This yellowish color, but just kind of showing you how this is the simplest way to do this. But one thing I don't like about that is I think it's a good idea to separate out the headings from the table data, right? And one thing, a lot of these examples out here in W3 Schools, these are probably older, and they don't use the other tags, like the T-head tag. Like we went over in the lecture, there's a T-head tag, a T-body tag, and a T-foot tag. And I kind of suggest you really use them. There's a lot of benefit, especially for those different assistive reading where it reads the screens, for someone who might be visually impaired or whatever. So, it's very, very beneficial for that. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this one here. This is your T-head tag. I'm just kind of showing you a little different way to do this. So here we got a T-head tag, and you got your TR, and your TH is for table heading, right? So you have your different table headings here, and it's all within a T-head tag, right? Then I'm going to come up here, and what I'm going to do on this is I am going to I should say. I'm just going to go ahead and add T-head, then a TR, then a TH. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this background color like this. And now if I run this, the very first one, okay, the very first one will go ahead and be highlighted. just kind of sort of like we had here. And the same thing with the first example, I just changed that. But here you're at least your you're separating out your headings kind of from your content, your data. And I think that that's a good idea on that. And then actually will work the other way. You might have to play with this when you get this, but change this to odd, obviously it will switch that there, but you don't want that like that. So we just go ahead and keep that even rows on that as well. Okay. So pretty straightforward, I think. Just kind of wanted to mention, I think it's important to try to use these kind of tags if you can. Okay. I know a lot of these examples don't have that, but like I said, there's some big benefit in that. So just kind of want to go over that. So this should be pretty straightforward. Once you understand the basics of tables, to create the table, make sure you use the border, and that's how you can go ahead, a couple different examples, what I showed you there in W3 Schools on how you can highlight the rows. Now the other one, table 2 here, this one's a little bit different. Okay, for this, let's go ahead and look at, actually it might be a good idea to look at it at the same time. Let me break this out real quick. Okay, let's see if this works all right for us here. Might have to switch back and forth to be able to see everything. Let's see how this goes though. Okay, so for here, what's kind of important here, for like this editorial, marketing, customer service. So this, you can see this is covering multiple rows, right? This is taking up 3 rows, this is taking up 2 rows, and this one's taking up 2 rows. So what we're going to be using on this is we're going to be using what's called row span. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that here. Let's see, this one's column span. Let's look at row span. I really don't like that one, but that's okay. All right. Yeah, I guess it'll work. So basically here, what you're doing is, so what you're going to kind of be doing with this editor or marketing or customer service, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of set everything up like you were, right? This is just regular, you can just have this as regular data. There's a couple different ways to do this, but you can have this as part of your data. That's fine. But what you're going to need to do here is do a row span on that, okay? So on that first one there, you're going to basically do a row span of 3, right? The second one here, marketing, you're going to do a row span of 2. And then your customer service, you're also going to do a row span of 2, okay? Now with your styling though, you're going to have to be a little more, you're going to have to play around with this a little bit, because you don't want this one here. You don't want these to be highlighted at all, okay? So you're going to have to work through that a little bit. I don't want to give you kind of all the answers. You could do something where, you could create some classes that, that are just, you could put those on those specific on these specific ones, right? So there's different options there to highlight that. There are some more advanced ways to do that as well, by just skipping the first one as well. But that's something you'll have to play with. The biggest thing I just wanted to point out is, for something like this, for the editorial, you're going to have to use, like I said, the row span. So row span of 3, row span of 2, row span of 2. And then also on our this bottom one, okay, on this bottom one here, we've got this one that takes up what? 1, 2, 3 columns, right? So for these columns, let's go back to that. That was the first one. So that instead of this name up here. But what you're going to do is kind of the same thing. On this one, you're going to want to do a column span of 3. Okay. So that's your, 1, 2, more than that. But your very last row of data. Or you could use a footer, right? A T-foot as well. I highly recommend you try to do that. So, but here you're going to do a column span of 3 for that part there, right? So I know I probably didn't give you a lot on this one. Just kind of play with this a little bit. I think the important thing is just make sure about the row spans and the column spans. And you're just going to have to play around a little bit with the CSS for this. Okay. It's easy if you just want to do, like I said earlier when I was showing you for the table 1, if you just do the T head, and then you can go ahead and style that for your color there. You can do the T foot and style that for your color, right? Then you just got to worry about how you're going to handle these rows here, right? So, all right. I hope that that kind of helps you out a little bit. Please let me know if you have any questions with this assignment, and have a good day.